Hey, what's going on? Welcome. What is today? Today is Tuesday, Election Day, November 5th. So make sure you vote. Make sure you vote today. Whatever way you go, just do your thing. Make sure you do your civic duty and get that vote in there. Well, welcome. I'm going ahead and bring in my girl, my homie, my stromie, Edie. What's going on, Edie? How you doing?
Hey,
So I just wanted to go ahead and
good. How's it
uh,
going over there?
I'm going good. I'm going good. We're going to talk about something that's very important to women. Men have this issue too, but we're going to really kind of grind on a little bit for women. Is menopause and how it affects women and how hard it is to deal with. It comes on from nowhere. People start noticing weight gain and they're not losing weight. They're putting it on easily and they don't know why. And I've had tons of clients over the years that I really had to learn about this and understand it. And I think I do have a pretty good a handle on how to deal with it. So the reality of menopause weight gain. So I want you, Edie, to kind of give your story about when you're 52, 53, something like that right now. How old are you?
Yeah, 53.
53.
53.
All right. So go ahead and go into it a little bit. Talk about your experience with menopause and how you dealt with it as you noticed it.
So I actually had a pretty unusual menopause. I actually went into premature menopause very early in my 20s before I had even really finished building my family. So for me, it was really a surprise. Like I talked to my doctor and he just kind of described what was going on, and so we ended up going through a lot of medical to kind of like go around what was happening naturally to my body. Um, but it was wild. Like I experienced super hot flashes where I just would be indoors, air conditioned or whatever, and just dripping with sweat. So any of you who've gone through it, you know what that's all about. So I was like taking off layers and getting down because I was just like ridiculously hot. And then shortly after that, I'd feel freezing cold. And so then I'd be putting my little, sweater and jacket back on. So that's the part that I remember the most, because I didn't really know what was going on. And so I think I would have probably remembered more if I really knew what was going on at the time. But that was the most significant thing for me. But I know a lot of women, they experience changes in like their sleep habits and a lot of weight gain and that sort of thing. That was kind of undetectable for me because, like I said, I didn't really know what was going on and I was so young. So I think it affected me quite differently. But I do feel like some of the like emotional stuff that really happened for me. I can remember that time was, very like up and down and not really feeling steady. And just having like a lot of big mood swings. So I know a lot of people experience that. And just it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of people go through it in their 40s or 50s, and I was just so young in my 20s, so that I just didn't really connect with what was even really happening. And so later on when the doctor kind of shed light on it and did some blood tests and told me what was up, I was like, "Oh." Um so, the good news is you don't end up having as many cycles. And so that's like the win, that you don't end up having to deal with that part of life. And so there's, some pretty big changes that way, which was a
it ain't
huge
it
blessing
ain't
if you ask
it ain't
me. Like,
all it ain't
what kind of
all
a win
bad.
is that?
It
But
ain't all bad, right?
yeah, that was my favorite part. But yeah, I think for a lot of women, it does really impact them emotionally. So I'm gonna kind of share my cousin's story because that story was probably a little more typical than mine. So I have an older cousin, and she has kids like my age. And so she's, almost like a generation ahead, even though she's my cousin. And so the daughter-in-law that's my age, she was, talking about how this, I'm just going to give her name, Anne. And she's just like, oh my gosh, Anne is just all over the place. She just gets super mad at me and she starts screaming and she's so intense. I can't be around her anymore. And, her emotions are just off the chart and she's just always so intense. And then, she'll turn around and be nice and they'll be, sorry, I got a little notification going. I need to turn that off. She'll be kind of back to normal herself for a while. So then we'll kind of rebuild trust and, I'll start bringing the kids over because the younger cousin had lots of kids and that was grandma for them. And then it would cycle again and she'd just be all crazy and off the chart. So I think that part, I have other family members that experienced a lot of that really, really ridiculous mood swings where you almost feel like a completely different person. And so my heart goes out to people who go through that and their sphere of influence of the people who they impact when they're, swinging that hard, because it's difficult to be around people that, almost appear bipolar, just they're almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like completely two different people. And so that's not the only family member that I know that went through that. And that was the like most significant thing about that story that was relayed to me was just off the chart mood swings. So I mean, I think I had some, but nothing like what was described to me about my cousin Anne. And so eventually it all leveled out. I just saw her a couple weeks ago and everything's fine. But when she was actually going through it, it was just so intense. And so, I think having open discussions like this and with your friends and family that are around you can really foster more open communication, more support, more where, you know, if we just pretend like everything's fine when it really isn't, you're going to communicate differently with people and they're not going to understand you of what you're going through if you don't take the time to tell them and describe what's going on internally, emotionally, physically, and all the things that are really impacting your life. And so I just think that taking the time to have, uncomfortable conversations like, hey, I'm not feeling okay. I'm going through something and it.
Right. And what I've noticed is when I work with a lot of women over the years, I've worked with hundreds of women over the past 25 years. And I started noticing in the mid 40s when some of these ladies were having struggles with their weight, they were having struggles with their mood swings, just like Edie said. And I started noticing that the lower their body fat was, the less they were noticing the symptoms. And the higher your body fat, the more they were recognizing the symptoms. So what I started doing is, first of all, I was living out in Palm Springs and I knew of a doctor that was doing those bioidentical pellet shots. And so I would say, okay, I noticed that when my clients are going to do that shot, they're feeling amazing within weeks. Their bodies level out. I have a client right now. Her name is Cindy. Cindy, if you're watching, I've been working with Cindy now since she was 28 years old. She's 53 now, 52, 53. And off and on, not consistently, but off and on. We stay together. The last 3 or 4 years, we've been consistent again. And once we got her hormones in check, she's been fine ever since. Fine ever since. Her weight is balanced. She stays the same. Her energy is good. She's not having up and down roller coasters. She would go into depression. Every January she would slip into a depression. And one day she was like, I can't not work out. I have to keep working out. She goes, because the only time I feel good is when I'm working out. So the last 3 years, we spoke about this the other day because I told her I was doing a segment on menopause. She says, Idrise, ever since we've been consistent, I haven't had these issues anymore. So I want you ladies to understand that if you're going through perimenopause, which is going into menopause, and it's usually more in your 30s and 40s when you start experiencing perimenopause. Like Edie said, she noticed it when she was in her 20s. So if you start noticing mood swings, if you start noticing, weight gain that doesn't make sense, like you are on a regimen program, you exercise regularly, there's some ways that you can improve your workouts, you can improve your nutrition. What I tend to do with women who I'm noticing having this experience is I start working more on their body fat percentage, their body composition, their nutrition, also just understanding what's going on. So you can, like Edie said, explain it to your partner, explain it to your husband, explain it to whoever your circle is, because you don't want them to think you're losing your mind when it's just normal. It's a normal occurrence that every person is going to experience, every woman is going to experience, having gone through this. So I'm gonna just give you some details. You gain about a pound to a pound and a half a year throughout your 40s or your 50s. I had one client who said, Idrise, I noticed at 40, every year it was a pound, and 41 it was a pound, at 42 it was another pound. And over that 10-year period, she put on a roughly 10 pounds. And that's right along, the stats are right around 1.5 pounds a year. This woman, but she was also someone who worked out consistently. She watched her nutrition. So instead of a pound and a half, she only had a pound, which is why I say it's really important to keep your body fat percentage low as you get into your 40s and your 50s, because it'll be less of an effect. You're still going to have menopause. You're still going to have these experiences. However, you can bring down the severity by how fit you are, or how low your body fat is, and how much muscle you have. Because keep in mind, cardio is not going to fix this. Cardio is an interesting thing that I try to really explain to women when it comes to fitness. Is it also eats up your muscle. Hiking, sports, your muscle is being utilized and worn out doing these activities. You have to strength train to keep your muscle there, keep your muscle live. Muscle is live tissue. It's looking for nutrients all the time. It's, when you're a muscular person, and I don't mean big and muscular, I just mean you have muscle, more muscle on your frame. Okay. If you're 130 pounds, a lot of that's muscle. A good percentage of that is muscle. You're going to burn calories more efficiently because muscle's live tissue. It's looking for calories even when you sleep. Okay. People who are really fit wake up starving because their body used all the calories, everything from the night before, and it's ready and it needs it again. People who wake up in the morning and they're never hungry for hours and hours, that's not okay. And I've had a lot of people that go, well, I've never been hungry. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it's okay. It's just what your body's used to. But if you slept for 8 hours, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, and you haven't eaten, if you go 12 hours and you're not hungry at all, that means you're not burning any calories from your last meal. So they're still just sitting around. And I'll give you an example. I had a young lady who she ate at noon every day. She ate a bowl of oatmeal. And I know she didn't start out there. I know before she just started, like most people, they start eating less and less and less, thinking, okay, if I eat less and less, I'll drop weight. Well, yeah, you might drop some weight, but you're going to pretty soon stop dropping weight. And the weight you are dropping is muscle. So your metabolism is actually slowing down, even though you're losing weight, and your body fat percentage is going up, even though you're losing weight. Okay. This is very important for people to understand. All weight loss isn't fat loss. Okay. Sometimes weight loss is muscle loss. All right. So just keep that in mind. And when you're getting older, in your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, you need muscle, not only to get around and just enjoy your day, but you need it to keep your body lean, keep your weight in control, and stuff like that. So I'm going to bring Edie back in, and let's talk about from her point of view. Did she do anything? And we'll find that out right now when we bring her back in. So Edie, when you were coming out of your situation, did you use fitness? Did you lift weights? Did you do what did you do during your period of dealing with menopause, or did you do anything at all?
So I've always been super active. Like, I think I was literally born an athlete, like, at a higher level than the average person. And so I've just always had tons of energy and developed a decent amount of balance and coordination. And I have a lot of explosiveness in my genetics. So, like, really good at like jumping, throwing, sprinting, that kind of thing. And so I just kind of never slowed down through the process. So I was already like on volleyball teams. I continued to play. Like, I was already doing stuff that's, we have a lot of elevation where I live. So we, do steep hikes and stayed active with when you're hiking, like really big elevation gains with a lot of percent incline, you burn a lot of calories and you stay pretty toned, especially on the whole backside of your body, like your hamstrings and your glutes and all that. Um, but yeah, I just didn't slow down. And again, like I said, I didn't really know during a big part of it what was even happening. So it was just, regular life for me, but regular life was pretty active. It was during a season of my life that I wasn't lifting as much. And had I known what I know now, highly recommend weight training and strength based training, jump training. When, especially if people are doing this later in their 40s and 50s, like the number one way to increase your bone density is strength training or jumping. So, like doing something like that where you're getting some impact that will make your bones denser. So, that's really when I started to watch my mom decline and have more problems with brittle bones. I'm like, wow, I don't want to regret in my 70s what I'm not doing in my 40s. So that's really when I turned on the extra level of really hitting the gym hard again, like I had in high school and college, and just, really packing on the muscle and really being consistent. So there was kind of a gap in time there, but I definitely stayed active and just never really let it slow me down. Even though
Okay, let me.
sometimes I wasn't getting as much sleep and, sometimes was tired, I would implement.
No, no,
Are you
no.
there?
That's good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to get on. I wanted to bring up something else, and
Okay.
then you can address it as well. Some of the causes, because I know a lot of women are like, "Well, what's the cause? Like,
Okay.
why does it even happen?" So I'm gonna, instead of me, I don't want to mix it, get it confused. So I'll just read it so you guys understand. Okay, menopause tends to affect women in their midsection. Okay, and that's where it tends to affect people. But it's not just hormones. It's not just the ovaries and all that kind of stuff. It also has to do with kind of what you said. Your lifestyle has a lot to do with it. Your nutrition has a lot to do with it, and genetics. Genetics have a lot to do with it. So when you're looking at your weight gain from menopause, you can't just say, "Oh, it's just the hormonal changes," because it's not just the hormonal changes. It's also other things, other factors. Muscle loss. Okay, as we get older, we lose muscle. That's why you have to lift weights. Remember this, guys. A lot of people don't think about this. When you are a child, okay, how does an infant, like I have two, grandchildren, how do they go from being 20, 30 pounds and to full grown adults without lifting weights? Like they're not lifting weights not at that time, right? They're just naturally growing. So our hormones, usually most people, some people have struggle getting taller or building muscle because their growth hormones have issues with hormones and stuff. But most people, the average person is going to grow to a full grown adult, whatever that is. Um, they're not lifting weights. How did they get all this muscle? It's because they have natural growth, muscle building properties. Once you get to about 20, 21, 22 years old, you don't grow anymore. You stop growing and pretty much you level off. Now, if you're someone who exercises and eats right, you're going to actually continue the process of muscle building and growth. You might not get taller, but you're going to definitely build muscle. If you're not, you're just going to level off and start going the other way. And you're going to start losing muscle. And when you get to your mid 30s and early 40s and mid 40s, you really start to notice the changes. Okay. And I'll give you an example just as from a guy and men, as women know, we still have issues. They call it menopause, men pause, but it's a little different than women. It's not the same, but we still have the same issue with, as we get older, we put more body fat on. I was competing, a competitive professional bodybuilder, always on top of what I'm eating, always working out for 20, 30 years straight. And I noticed when I got ready for one of my last competitions, it wasn't coming off the same anymore. And I talked to a guy backstage. His name is Chris Cormier, and we were in New York. And he looked at me and he goes, "Idrise, it ain't coming off like it used to." And I said, "No, it is not, my friend." And that was one of my last competitions because I was like, I can't keep up with these 25-year-olds. I got to work twice as hard just to get the fat off. Where before, 2 hours of cardio a day is not like you're not working hard. But I wasn't about to go to 3 hours of cardio a day, that's for sure. So that's how it affects even men. Okay, so losing muscle is a big issue when it comes to controlling your weight when you start going into menopause. So the question is what do I do, right? So I always tell women who are not there yet, if they're in their 20s, late 20s, 30s, get on a train now, lean out now, because it's not easy to lean out. So lean out the best you can while you're younger. You know, one of my mottos is you ain't going to be any younger than you are today. Today is the youngest you're ever going to be for the rest of your life. Tomorrow I will be older than I am today. So while you're still in the place that you're in, start doing something about your body fat percentage. Okay, start leaning out. Start lifting weights. That's one of the things I do with all my clients. There is not a client that I've had in the last 25 years that I don't emphasize. We have to get stronger. We have to get stronger. Strength equals muscle gain, not size, get muscle gain. Okay. If you're 140 pounds, let's be 140 pounds of lean muscle tissue, not body fat, not high body fat, low muscle tissue, lean muscle tissue, lower body fat. And when I say lower, I don't mean 8-9%. I'm talking about somewhere around 18, 22, somewhere in 18 to 22. Because once you get to 25, you're starting to approach being overweight. And when you get to 30, you're talking about obesity. So it's not, and we're talking roughly 2 to 2.5 pounds per percentage of body fat. So if you're 20% body fat to 30% body fat, that's roughly 25 to 30 pounds of body, 20 to 30 pounds of body weight. Okay. So keep that in mind. Muscle building, getting stronger equates to having muscle, lean muscle tissue. And then your nutrition keeps your body fat from increasing, because you can actually increase your body fat while you're lifting weights if you're eating improperly. So none of this stuff is easy, I know, but that's, why we're here. That's why we're doing a 30-day challenge, and we want you ladies, we're inviting you guys to come on. I'm gonna put you on my fitness app. You got 30 days. You're going to give you a free trial, so I'll get a free evaluation. I'll evaluate your nutrition. I'll evaluate your training, talk about what your goals are, why they're not working. I can break it all down. As soon as you tell me, I'm gonna know exactly what's wrong. And then we have our supplementation so that we can make sure you're getting clean, healthy supplements. It's so many supplements on the shelves. My Lord, what do I choose, right? I know you guys are like, there's so much stuff out there. That's why, that's one of the reasons I work with Edie's, because I was like, hey, I like what you're doing. I like that. I want that part of my program for my clients. So that's what the 30-day challenge is about. So let's talk about now, we bring Edie back in. I want to talk about some of the things that you noticed health-wise while you were going through menopause. And I'll kind of give you an example. Some of the risks with the weight gain is breathing problems. You start having respiratory issues, heart and blood vessel disease, and type 2 diabetes, which is a big deal. Now, hopefully Edie didn't go through any of those things, but we'll bring her back on and see what she did experience and how she can share that with us. So Edie, tell us, did you experience anything like breathing problems, heart and blood vessel issues? Did you have any kind of issues medically with your menopause when you were experiencing it?
Yeah, the only real negative thing that happened in that same time frame, which I'm not even sure if it's related or not, is I realized how sensitive I was to caffeine. And so when I was playing volleyball, sometimes I'd get my heart racing. And so again, I don't know if it was related, but I went to the doctor. They tested the EKG. They're like, "Do you ever drink caffeine?" I'm like, "Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do." On the way to volleyball, and they said, "Don't do that." So that was about the only thing, is I just had to really start watching my caffeine intake. But again, I don't know if it was actually related, but yeah, for me personally, I just stayed pretty healthy through all of it, and it was not drastic for me. So I didn't experience massive weight gain. I didn't experience anything with breathing, but yeah, you're right. A lot of people do have some other really physiological changes that occur simultaneously.
Yeah, the type 2 diabetes one is the one that's very, very serious. Of course, breathing issues is not fun either. But the type 2 diabetes thing is really huge. For anybody who doesn't understand how type 2 diabetes works, in layman's terms, your body secretes a ton of insulin to break down sugars and transport those sugars and nutrients into your cells. If your body is constantly secreting insulin, and sugars tend to make your body secrete insulin more than proteins and vegetables. You still secrete some insulin with protein and vegetables, but not like sugars. And sugars come in all forms: liquor, candy, obvious stuff like candy, but not so obvious stuff like carbs, starchy carbs, potatoes, pasta, breads. They break down, and their final breakdown is sugar. Fruit breaks down the sugar. So when you constantly have insulin floating around in your system, it's kind of like a person who does pain pills, okay? First it's one, and then one stops working, and then it's two, and then two stop working, then it's three, and it's four. So when it comes to insulin, it works the same way. When your body is constantly having insulin flooding the system, your cells become resistant to it, your muscles become resistant to it, and your organs become resistant to it. And when that happens, you're going to start finding yourself putting weight on, and your body is now, insulin is not working anymore. And that's when the weight really starts to go up. So some of the things that you can do to prevent menopause weight gain, and they have about, let me see, they have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have about 5 things. And I think we discussed some of them. We'll go over them right now. Move more. Okay. Move more. Now, I know a lot of people, when they say move more, they think of, well, I like hiking, I go play tennis. Yeah. Please do all of those things. Don't stop doing those things. But you have to add weight training. You have to. And that's why I mentioned earlier, physical activity, tennis, all of those sports eat up muscle. They use muscle to do the sport. The one thing that I don't think a lot of people don't understand about professional athletes, basketball players, tennis players, swimmers, they all lift weights. You can't be a top athlete and not lift weights because you're beating your body up on a daily basis. And that's why we have off seasons. You know, when Tiger Woods was coming up through golf and he was whipping everybody's butt, and he was the first one to have a rigorous lifting program. And a lot of the guys were like, wow, man, he's lifting a lot and he's kicking our butts. Maybe we need to start lifting. And then all of them started lifting because Tiger goes, how do you think I make it through these tournaments? It's 100 degrees out. The humidity's 80. We're sweating out here. He goes, I lift all those weights so I can make it out here. So we have to look at it the same way. Of course, not at the level he was doing it at, but even at our level, I'm 59 this month. I still have to keep my muscle. If I don't keep my muscle, my body fat's going to shoot up. It's just going to do it. And I can tell you right now, my body fat is higher for my activity level than it used to be 20 years ago. I can have, I can take time off and I still wouldn't put on high body fat. Now I got to really watch my food. Eating less. Roughly, you want to eat about 200 calories less per day after the age of 50, about 200 calories. Now, here's the problem with that. Most people don't know they don't know how much they're eating, right? They really don't. So I don't want you to think that, okay, I got to start counting my calories. You don't really have to do that because calorie counting is not an accurate way of dieting anyway, because where you get your calories from are way more important than how many calories you're taking in. Because you could eat all day long and take in very few calories, or you could eat once and blow it out and do 2,000 calories in one meal. Okay, so it's really more about what am I eating? How often am I eating? Is my body using the food that I'm eating, or is it storing after I'm done eating? But basically what I mean by when they say eat less, I like to look at it more like eat the right things and make sure that the foods that you're eating aren't storing as energy or as glycogen. Next is check your sweet tooth habit. I have a bad sweet tooth. I think Edie does too. I think we both have sweet tooths. I have to control that. I have to really watch my sweets. Because if I don't, and I notice it right away, man, limit alcohol, okay? I've had clients over the years that they love their wine, and I get it. You want to get to the end of the day and you want to drink your wine. I get it. But if it's hurting you, if it's putting you in a bad situation, you might want to kind of curb it for a little bit, get it under control, get your body fat down. I'm not saying you don't drink it at all. Maybe back it off to once or twice a week until you get your body fat down. Also, a lot of times people drink wine to unwind. When you exercise, that actually unwinds you. Any stress you have is gone because you take it out on the bag in the gym. You take it out there, and you release that energy in the gym. And seeking support, and that's what me and Edie are here for. I'm here to for any time you need. One thing I do with my fitness app, my Ages in 90 fitness app, is my clients, and you might see some of the testimonials. They're never left hanging. I don't want to leave them hanging. I think a lot of coaches today leave their clients out there. They just give them something, and then they're wondering, and when things aren't working, they don't know what to do, and they get frustrated, and sometimes they quit. With my app, you have access to me. You can, there's certain times that we meet, but other times you just have access. You just drop me a line. Hey, man, I'm really having a tough one. And I'll hit you back, make an appointment, and we'll just have a 30-minute, talk. I've talked people off the building. I've talked people out of the Dairy Queen. Could put the ice cream down, back away from the ice cream. Because sometimes you just need somebody to tell you, you know what, you're okay. This is normal. Everybody experiences this, because we want to feel satiated. And sometimes when you're eating clean, you just don't feel like you've eaten. You always feel like you're hungry. And it sucks to always feel like you're hungry. So there's reasons why people say they binge, or people crave. Like my daughter asked me once, she goes, how do you deal with cravings? I'm like, eat. Whenever you're hungry, you're going to feel cravings. So the time you don't, like, I'm like that. Okay. My wife notices right away. She'll see me start reaching for sweets, and she'll be like, are you hungry? Do you need something to eat? And I'll be like, yeah, I do. She goes, I can tell because you're reaching for the sweets. So trust me, ladies, you're not alone. You got a whole lot of people going through, including me, who have to deal with this stuff. So I'm gonna bring Edie back on again. And Edie, so tell us, Edie, are you in? Where are you in as far as your menopausal, experience? Where are you? It sounds like you're in a pretty good, steady place right now, but I don't want to speak for you. Let us know. Tell me where you are right now.
Yeah, so everything's pretty leveled out. And when I realized how much the starches that you were talking about, like the really starchy foods, were turning to sugar on my body and just, clinging on as fat stores on my triceps, fat stores on my belly, fat stores on my legs, around my midsection, my front of my belly, my sides. I got off of pretty much all pasta and bread to speak of. The only bread that I use is Ezekiel bread, because it's very nutritionally dense and you get a ton of nutrition in each and every slice. But what I tell my clients is, it's okay to still eat things that you love. You just might need to do simple swaps to something that's like a healthier version that doesn't have as much sugars and that kind of thing. And so with the Ezekiel bread, I just limit myself to one slice. And I also like to tell people, our body can adapt to a certain amount of starches and sugars. It's just when we go over that amount that it spills over and gets in your bloodstream and turns to more fat cells and body fat. So for me, it really was just limiting my carbohydrate, because I'm very sensitive to carbohydrate, and you kind of got to get to know your body. Some people can process more carbs than others. Um, but I'm pretty sensitive. So I notice right away if I'm having too much, like, back in the day, not now so much, but like pizza or things with, like a lot of crust. So I've shifted to just more toppings than crust, and more salads than sandwiches. And so, I have an occasional sandwich here and there, occasional potatoes, but I really like sweet potatoes. So I've done that simple swap. I tend to choose sweet potatoes every time if the choice is there, and not eat regular white potatoes, just because I just find them more nutritionally dense. There's more fiber typically, and I feel better on them, and they're a little lower on the glycemic index. And then just finding other simple swaps, like you can still have like salsa and some hummus, but you don't have to eat it with chips. Like you can slice vegetable chips, like slice peppers into um, a wedge, or slice cucumber chips. And so just finding those simple swaps for me really has helped me maintain my weight and keep it off. And then also I do supplementation that helps, you know, fill in my nutritional gaps. Most people are kind of overfed and undernourished. And so when you fill in those nutritional gaps, you're not as hungry for the temptations that are around you. So if you're raising kids or grandkids and you're around, you know, sometimes they have different snacks or whatever, and you don't want that temptation to be able to turn that food noise down to where you're not like, oh, I want that and I want that. And, you know, kind of what Idris was saying, like he starts feeling snacky and reaching for the wrong choices. Just by filling in your nutritional gaps and getting more of the good stuff, you're not as tempted. Like I was actually yesterday in the most beautiful, cute French bakery with the most beautiful, like over 60 custom desserts and money in my pocket. And we just ordered tea, and we were having a little meeting, and it lasted for a couple hours, and neither one of us were tempted to go and get French desserts because, you know, we're eating clean and we're on great supplements that, you know, just fill in our nutritional gaps and have helped us with our blood sugars and metabolism. So for me, it's been a lot of that. I got on really quality supplements at age 35 and I've just never stopped. So I've been taking great supplements for 18 years, a couple different kinds, like when you know better, you do better. And so I'm using naturopathic doctor developed stuff now, but I feel amazing. I've been able to stay a healthy body fat percentage for me. I tend to carry a lot more muscle than the typical female. Um, if I always joke, if I even look at a push up, I start putting on muscle, which I know a lot of people um, can, you know, kind of feel jealous about that, or they might struggle to put on muscle. But we all have our strengths and weaknesses. I also put on fat easier than some people too. But to really level that out, it's just been paying attention to everything that goes in my mouth. And so I used to do a lot of mindless eating when I was a child and in my teens and my 20s, and just didn't put a whole lot of thought into what I was eating. And when I was 35, that's really when I kind of made the decision to be a lot more conscientious of what was I putting in my body. And that's also when I got on supplements. But by about age 44, I was doing some figure competitions, worked with a prep coach who was very serious. They're like, this is not a list of suggestions when I give you a meal plan. This is your plan. You need to stick to it to the T. It's not like maybe you have your basmati rice, maybe you have your sweet potato. You're eating all of the carbs we say, all the protein. And it just took my accountability to a new level. And so after doing a few shows, I was able to take a lot of what I learned of the discipline and just apply it to everyday life. And it's really helped me maintain a physique that I feel really good about and can just, wear whatever I want to wear. And for the most part, stay pretty steady, other than a little side quest where, I was doing a little bit too much celebrating. Like last winter, I had a friend that wanted to always buy me a drink. And first I was like, no. And then it was like, yes. And then like, I'll have another and put on a little bit. But I knew right away what was happening. And for me, it was alcohol. And my body doesn't process it. It just turns to fat. So got off that and took the weight back off. But really, it's been mostly this whole time since I was 35 that I've maintained a pretty good like size and body composition, and able to like have good energy levels, have the appetite control, make the good choices. And for the most part, I really believe in like an 80-20 kind of eating, where at least 80% of the time you should be focused, you should have a plan, you should know what you're eating through your week and plan your meals out. And then, 20% of the time, if there's, my dad's birthday, I'm going to have a slice of cake with him. It's okay to have an occasional thing. But what you don't want to do is think that one donut will ruin everything, because it won't. But also, one serving of broccoli won't fix everything, because it won't. So if you're, for the most part, eating a great amount of, protein and veggies, and really focused there with eating healthy, then the occasional treat or whatever have you, you can do that and still go right back to your, good eating plan where you're getting an A+, and then, occasionally have a treat. So for me, my pattern in there is about once a week to, have like what I call a refuel meal. Some people call it a cheat meal or a cheat dessert or whatever, but I still don't really like go overboard. It's more like, a slight bump in calories and carbs. And then along those same lines, I really believe in a zigzag method. So like burn, burn, burn days, and then a refuel day, or maybe 6 days like me, and then a refuel day once a week. Because if you're just constantly slashing calories and carbs, pretty soon your metabolism is going to also slash and match that. But by doing kind of a zigzag method, you don't adapt, and you'll actually burn more by having a few extra, calories and carbs intermittently, just every fourth day or every seventh day, something like that.
Yeah, and I want a lot of women out there who are listening. I want you to keep in mind there's a myriad of ways to go about your fitness. Like Edie's one of these type of people where she's about structure and order, and she can do, like she said, the zigzag method. I would never do a zigzag method. I don't do any methods because I don't want to. I actually don't want to. I just want to. I try to teach people the most simple way, because a lot of you out there are saying, I'm not going to do that. And I know you're not. So I don't want you to think that there's only one way to do any of this. There's a multitude of ways. I don't treat any of my clients like the last client, because you're not the last client. You got your own needs. You may be a person who you're a cook, or you travel all the time and you're always eating out, and you're always. So remember this, the most basic way to deal with nutrition is, first you have to figure out how your body is affected by the foods that you eat. Like Edie said, she's carb sensitive. I'm very carb sensitive. Okay, I can't just eat carbs and not put on weight. I'm gonna put it on. So I live my life understanding I'm carb sensitive. So most of the time, and she also said something else that I say all the time. Eating horrible all the time and eating one clean meal ain't gonna change nothing. If you eat good all the time and you have a glass of wine or some nonsense, that ain't gonna hurt you at all. But you can't do that until you're already in shape. Okay, you have to first get in shape before you start doing these things. Okay, you have to get your body fat down. You have to have your basics down. Like she said, her coach would say, this isn't a suggestion. This isn't a suggestion. This is how you have to eat until you are here. And then once you're here, now we start to level off, because you think about this, ladies. If you know how something affects you when you eat it, and when I eat this, this is going to happen. When I eat that, that's going to happen. You just make all your decisions based off your knowledge. You don't have to do anything special. Don't think for 1 second I have some regimented eating program. I do not. I get up in the morning, I eat a certain way. When I'm hungry, I eat a certain way. If I'm going to have a busy day, I eat a little differently, because I'm going to be more physically busy. If I'm going to be sitting on my butt all day, I don't need a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to burn off. So if it's late at night and I'm getting ready to lay down, I eat a certain way. I'll still eat. I'll eat before I go to bed, but I eat a certain way based off of how I know the food's going to affect me. So once you understand that, now you can just do what you want. As you get older, okay, well, I'm not burning calories like I used to when I was in my 30s. So I need to bring my calorie count down, because I'm not going to burn my calories as efficiently as I did when I was in my 30s. So I want to we really, really want to try to simplify our nutrition so that it's not a pain in the butt. And that's not, most people stop doing programs because they get sick of doing the program. That's all. They just get sick of doing it. They get sick of eating the same foods. They get sick of doing it. They just get sick of it. And I completely get it. But if you understand how you're eating, if you understand what the food does, now you're basing it off of what your body does when you eat the food, not necessarily, I can't have this and I can't have that. Because I've had too many clients go, I can't do this. And I'm like, no. It's not that you can't. It's just that it's going to hurt you if you do. You can still do it. Yeah, you can have that donut. You can have the whole box of donuts. But there's a result. There's going to be a result. So the question is do I want that result? So you eat based off your results. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from. You eat based off of the result that you want from the meal. Sometimes you just want a good old tasty slice of pizza. Okay? Have that slice of pizza. But understand, okay, this slice of pizza is all I'm having. I ain't going to be going crazy with this pizza. I'm going to have my pizza, and then I'm going to move right along. And I'll even eat super clean throughout the day so I can have some pizza at night. I may miss my carb meal in the morning because I know I'm gonna have carbs at the night and later on in the day that I don't usually have in my diet. So I'll trade off on whether or not I'm gonna have sugars. I'll do little trades. Okay, you know what? If we're going out to dinner tonight to a place I don't usually have dinner, then I'm gonna eat clean all day so I can go ahead and just enjoy my dinner. Okay, so that's the key, and that's what I teach all my clients: what works for them, their body, their age, their gender, their ethnicity, all of it. This is working for you. And then once we figure that out, now you know this what works for me. So that's what the program is. We have a great supplement line. We got to have a great 30-day challenge for this winter, for the fall, basically, for anybody out there who wants to get their weight under control. I think a great thing I try to teach is get your weight down before the holidays start so you can loosen up a little bit on the holidays and enjoy it. You can loosen up a little bit. So now's a perfect time for that. Go ahead and sign up. Hit us in the comment section. Just say, Coach Idrise, I'm ready. Just put I'm ready. Just put I'm ready. And I will get a hold of you. We'll set a time. We'll talk. And we'll get you set up with your supplements. We'll get you set up with your workout. We'll get you on the app. We'll take care of everything. And trust me, you will not regret it. You will never regret taking care of yourself. You will never regret learning more about yourself. You will never regret the challenge. The reason that I think a challenge is good is because it makes you proud. You're proud of yourself when you've done something that's a little difficult that you didn't think you can quite do, and then you pull it off anyway. There's nothing better than doing something that you didn't think you could do, and you did it anyway. So thank you for joining us today. For Coach Edie, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna sign off for us, and you guys put in the comment section, I'm ready, and I'll contact you right away, and we'll get you going. So you guys have a great day, have a great election day. We'll see you next week, and thank you for joining us.